Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another solo episode of Parenting is Easy Said No One Ever. I am your host, Chananya Abraham, and we're going to have a short little talk today on a very specific topic that has really been in the feedback, something that people and parents want to know more about, and that's specifically regarding sleep for our kids. And there are so many questions, and after looking at all the questions that we had regarding sleep, we narrowed it down to 5 things that I think are really important when it comes to making sure that we have the proper, healthy understanding of how to go about sleep with our kids. So we're going to get right into it over here. And the first thing that I want to talk about is what we call honor your sleep. Make sure to treat sleep as something that is so important and so vital. When kids see us look at sleep as something that is important, they're going to model that and they're going to want to do that themselves. And by us prioritizing sleep, they will be able to go in and say, oh, this is important. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, we're going to talk about the concept of creating a calm routine. So creating something, and then we're going to get more into the concepts of technology in a second, but overall, setting up our kids to be in a place where they understand that there's a routine to do things. So let's give an example of, let's say after dinner, we would go ahead and clean up. Then we can start preparing our knapsacks and our school bags for the next day. And then from there, we start our nighttime shower and hygiene routine, setting up a specific way of dealing with things that they know that this is what we do before we go to bed, which I think is, let's say, something that a lot of us grew up with, of having a parent read us a book, or having a certain song go on, or music go on, or night lights go on before we go to sleep. That is something that is really, really important. And having a calm routine before bedtime is rule number 2, and something that is really, really important that we try to incorporate into our constant routine that we're trying to have together with our families and our kids. Rule number 3 is tech quiet time. And there's a lot of talks, a lot of research, and a lot of scientists and psychologists that have talked about the concept of how long before bed should we not have any more screen time. Obviously, this also goes into the blue lights and how that's going to affect the melatonin being released into our systems. I think the easiest thing for us to do, because we live very, very busy lives, and we have to sometimes use technology as a babysitter so that we can get stuff done that we want to do. But making sure that at least 30 minutes before bedtime, our kids are not using any technology and not using anything is really, really important. And setting it up and cultivating a peaceful environment helps our children be able to understand that this is what we do. And having at least a half hour before bedtime, no more electronics, is going to be really, really, really helpful for them to understand that there's a way we go about sleep. And that's rule number 3. Now let's talk about rule number 4. We're going to talk about the concept of balancing responsibilities. So as we were talking about before, being able to start preparing for the next day, preparing our clothes, being able to have a sense of we do things in a certain way is really, really important. And it's okay to go ahead and delegate tasks to our kids, whether it's going to the basement or the garage to get more snacks, or making sure that the doors are locked or that certain lights are closed. Again, I'm just giving examples, but every situation is different. Making sure that, laundry is being put away properly, whether it's into the laundry room or back into the closets and the drawers of our kids. Having a sense of responsibility and knowing that we don't have to be rushed. We can do things and we can delegate things, both as parents and for our kids. That's going to be so helpful for maintaining our own well-being. That's going to also help our kids. So having a sense of responsibilities and balancing them and delegating is going to be really, really, really important. I think number 5 is also probably the most important part, because this applies to other parts of parenting as well. And that is to embrace imperfections. So rule number 5 is to embrace the fact it's not going to be perfect. There is no such thing as perfection. And that's in all areas of parenting and probably all areas of life as well. But for us to understand, for us to be able to be compassionate with ourselves, to be able to move inside, to go inside, or I like to say in my office a lot, making a U-turn, going inside and saying, that's okay. Letting go of today's stresses and allowing ourselves, giving ourselves permission to rest, and understanding that, yes, things didn't go as planned, but yet we're still going to do our best. That doesn't mean that we failed. We don't want to have that black and white thinking, that cognitive distortions when it comes to making sure that things need to be perfect, but understand things are going to be different. Just to give an example, the way I like talking about it, we want to be more like palm trees and less like pine trees. Pine trees are beautiful and they can be green all year round. But if you get too much of a wind, they can snap and break because they don't bend. We want to be, as parents, more like palm trees, where they can withstand the hurricanes and the tornadoes and the heavy, heavy winds. And that's going to happen, especially regarding bedtime, because there are so many things we didn't get a chance to take care of today, and that's okay. So those are the 5 things. Number 1, honoring your sleep. Number 2, creating a routine and making sure that we're doing things in a proper way. Number 3, having tech quiet time. Number 4, we talk about the concept of balancing and delegating responsibilities. And number 5, embracing imperfections and saying to yourself and to your kids, and that's okay. Thank you to all of you that reached out and wanted to make this to be something that is important for us to be talking about, because I think this is such an awesome topic. And I learned so much as well as I was doing some research and putting this together. And like always, please reach out to us at parentingiseasypodcast@gmail.com. As well, you can find us on Instagram at parentingiseasysaidno1ever. If you have any questions, concerns, future topics, or maybe ideas for guests for the podcast, or you'd like to reach out regarding parenting or consulting in this parenting amazing journey that we're all on, you can reach out to us at said places and also at the email address, which will be in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us.